Welcome to the Savage Worlds GM podcast. I'm your host, Jared Savage, Daddy Gunning. Tonight's episode, Year in Rant Hype Train. This is where we get together, the last episode of the year, and just bitch about everything or anything. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter and Facebook at SWGM Podcast. You can also check us out if you like what we're doing, want to get behind it. Throw us a buck on Patreon, patreon.com/SWGM podcast. We're on YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel, the live stream collection of all these videos, plus a little bit more. YouTube.com/Savage Worlds GM podcast. And on iTunes by the same moniker, Savage Worlds GM podcast. So, as I said, tonight's episode is Rant-tastic. And here to discuss it, Chris, the Savage Mommy Fox.
Hello.
Dave, the Rules Maven Scott.
Greetings and salutations.
Dustin, the Savage Zealot Smith.
That's fault.
And introducing our newest member and the mascot, words are hard, of the show, Jeff the Grig. All right, so if you're watching the live stream, you poor bastards, feel free to comment. If you have
Don't you have anything better to do on a Thursday night?
Feel free to comment. We bring those into the show live. So let's go ahead and start it, gentlemen. What pissed you off in gaming this year? What is the rant?
Wait. I have to get the fucking 800-pound gorilla out of the way for all of us. I think what pissed us all off the most is constantly hearing, when is Suede coming out? Jesus fucking Christ.
Here's my rant. I got used to people asking about Savage Worlds Black Edition, and then it got changed to Suede. That's my rant. When is Black coming out? Do you think Black's going to be better? I don't know about Black.
My rant, and we talked about it in the green room before you got here, Dave. My rant is people who charge $9.99 for 8 pages of content.
Oh, fuck off. I love you.
Hey,
I actually got into a decent conversation with somebody about that the other day, and he defeated his own argument and didn't realize he had done so. He's like, well, this product from PEG was 50 cents an archetype. And I'm like, yeah. And ours is less than 50 cents an archetype. It's just we packed 21 archetypes in 8 pages.
In 8 pages, I know. I loved it. I wanted to say something on the site, but I'm like, no.
You can't because you're a moderator. So
no. This was on the RPG Now page.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a thing. You know, we've talked about. We've got a couple different target prices for like sales and stuff like that, but we really do think that, frickin', $9 for 21 archetypes, which is twice as many as were in the core book originally, and really are completely neutral. Like they don't come with a personality, they don't come with a gender, they don't come with a race. You can make that character exactly what you want it to do. It's what an archetype is supposed to be. It's not a book of pre-gens. And that's the thing, is we're being compared to these books of pre-gens for like, here, buy this book for ETU, and it's 6 characters, and all of them have a personality and hindrances and the whole 9 yards. That's not what we're providing. We're providing archetypes to get people who aren't comfortable with the system jumped up and going. Most of the people listening to the podcast probably don't need it. They could probably do a character in about 15 minutes. But there's a wide swath of audience out there who's brand new to Savage Worlds and doesn't know that you can just as easily do a cyberpunk ninja as you can a mad scientist, as freaking Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Beyond that, one of the things, and Dave, you're not selling yourself, because this is what I want to tell everybody, guys. Most of this actual product was done by Dave, and I got to give him credit because he literally broke down in a clear and understandable fashion the point buys, so you can see, like, there's like all of that when you're looking at the archetypes in like deluxe and you're worried this doesn't add up. You can literally see, yes, this adds up.
I've watched the thread on the forums go nuts as people are like, this archetype is not balanced. It doesn't meet the point requirements and stuff. And it's like, I did what they used to tell you in school. Show your fucking work.
He did. He showed the work. Like, you will actually go and see where it is outlined that, yes, these are balanced. Yes, they are in line with what they need to be. It's absolutely how it's supposed to be, man.
And I'll be honest, I think if you're not willing to pay $9.99 for a product that Carl Kiesler touched, that man makes everything that's coming out for Savage Worlds licensees. I cannot tell the licensee community enough to use him. Everything he touches is amazingly well put together. Like, it's legible, it's clear, it's concise. The art is not understated, but at the same time, like, you're not trying to read through his watermarks to the actual letters on the page. Everything is easy to read. He's got just a great style. So, yeah.
So we hate it?
Oh, apparently, yeah, we hate it.
Okay, this is the rant episode.
All right.
Hey, I didn't bring it up.
We hate how much we love it because it keeps calling us back with that sweet, sweet song of pre-generation. Prestidigitation, archetypically speaking.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
No, if I had to say something about that I hate, is I hate the number of people who jumped in and started saying that, people were spoiled, or that they were, sitting there being pretentious for asking for more for less. And it's like, guys, I get it. A lot of people say that, people are spoiled and stuff this time, in these days. But frankly, we don't need that. The best way you can defend anything, whether it's, Suede, whether it's a product we release, whether it's a product that Chris's company releases, whether it's something for any of the licensees, it doesn't matter. The best way to defend it is to talk about how good it is, not tell the person that they're wrong for having an opinion.
Yeah, it's a good product. I'm thankful for it because, like, now I can just sort of like go through and
you got it for free.
I got it for free. It's not true though. It's like time and money, and I had to sit through several meetings.
He paid a lot more than $9.99 for that.
As a founding member of the company, he paid a bit more than $9.99.
A tad.
So on the Atomic Ninja front, and maybe the other three gentlemen who are actually part of that company here can agree, the thing I hated this year was not being able to talk about what we were working on.
Right.
Yeah, I hated the NDA was a little.
Well, I'm not even just talking about the NDA. I'm talking about just we had so many irons in the fire at the same time. Like, when we dropped the first product, we knew, like, we've got the next 6 months planned out, and we can't tell anybody what's coming. And we couldn't tell anybody what was coming up to that point where we could finally make those announcements. And that I hated. I hated knowing that we had some cool stuff on the horizon. We couldn't tell our fans, guys, just hang in there. It'll be great as soon as Suede drops. We're going to drop all kinds of interesting stuff for you.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to run some games of what we were working on, but sort of behind the scenes is no, this is not the thing that we are doing. This is just the thing that seems like the thing we are doing.
It's the same but different.
Exactly.
Oh, watching Jared have a meltdown in the last Friday night game where we had to pull the book out and re-reference it 4 times to get through a single combat scene. That was amazing after years of working and playing with the guy, and then watching the master go, how does that work again?
Hold on a second. Yeah.
And even worse is hearing, hey, Dave, how does X? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Let's fucking look it up together.
Yeah, I mean, Ruben kind of says that.
Yeah, Ruben asked him.
I imagine the rant of flipping your brain from deluxe to Suede in terms of playing and gaming. It's going to take a little bit of time. I don't know. It's a little bit annoying, but I think there's not enough changed that it's going to take too long. My thing is I just every time I'll give you my rant, and it's not a horrible thing, but every time I sit there and I take Suede and I start bookmarking it on my tablet, and then they make all the changes and put out the next one. I'm like, fuck, god damn it. I just sat here for like an hour bookmarking shit. And now I have to go back and bookmark the newest version.
So it's like you built a sandcastle and here comes the big jock and just kicks it over.
The big knee kicks the sand in my face. Like, yeah, haha.
No. It's actually a step past that, because it's the big swell of wave named Shane that washes over your castle and drags half of it out to sea.
But I will say I'm very, very happy that he's listening to people, listening to the people who love the game, making changes, making this the best it can be. But I just got to learn, don't bookmark shit.
Yeah, there's a part of you that wants to be upset that so much is changing so rapidly. And there are some parts of it where I have to wonder, are they getting the time necessary to have that stuff go through the proper testing process and whatnot? Because he is iterating very quickly based on feedback. But at the same time, like, Shane and Clint know that this is for the fans. And if it's not the version of the game the fans are going to enjoy, there's really not much point in releasing it.
Right. And again, I mentioned this, that Shane, kind of, from what I got, has the feeling that this is it for a while. They're not going to do any major changes for a while. They may do small things, but I think
there's only going to be one or two more, iterations of the book ever.
Right.
And that those are, down the road. And you look at the last time, it's been a bit since the rules changed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to say another kind of rant for me. And I know some people are going to, bitch about it. And some people are going to tell me how wrong I am. But I'm kind of annoyed that people are continually bitching about not having a $10 rule book anymore. It's 2018. They had a $10 rule book for as long as I can remember since I got into Savage Worlds. It's not, I don't think, feasible and financially feasible anymore for them.
The $10 PDF that they are releasing makes them no money. They lose money on every copy of the PDF that
so I think it was time. I think it was time to raise the price, and I think you're getting a comparable book or a better book than some other role-playing books for the price.
Oh, just the way just the way it's written. Number one, it's so clear to understand. You don't have to reread things 5 times and then actually try it out and play like you had to with Deluxe. It's very, very well written, concise, and to the point, and it's beautifully freaking laid out and easy to flip through and easy to read.
Gee, I can't imagine that's that Carl guy again who touched something and made it phenomenal.
I mean, it's very, very readable. It's very easy on your eyes. It's very engaging. That product is worth $60. If Suede in its current edition was released by Fantasy Flight Games, you'd pay $60 for it and not complain at all. You'd have nothing to say about it. I think there's the expectation that, PEG is the $10 core rule company, and yeah, that model was true almost 2 decades ago. Move on. Yeah, I agree. A little bit of a rant. I'm going to say the one thing. Here's my little bit of the rant on the brain flip from doing a grapple in our last Friday night session. My instinct was it's more complicated than it was before when we started looking at it. It's not. It's actually simpler than it was before, but now there's some new terminology to familiarize yourself with.
The only thing complicated is learning it. The actual process itself is simpler. And once you kind of get that where you can do it by rote, where you don't have to look anything up, it'll just frickin' fly.
Right, and it's not much different than when you were first learning the game either. Like, well, wait a minute, how does grappling work? And you had to go read it. It's still very simple and streamlined. It's just after you run one round of that grapple, you understand how it works and what the terms are. It's not hard to do.
If I had to rant in regards to Suede, it would probably be having a copy of it that I could read and go through and have to mold our upcoming products around, while at the same time having to play deluxe. So it's like holding two versions in your head at the same time.
Oh geez, yes. I'm doing that in my Deadlands game. Every session I'm slowly trying to wean them off the Suede stuff, or the deluxe stuff, and go towards the Suede stuff. And they're revamping a few things on their characters every time. I don't want to throw everything at them at once, but it's like, oh, okay, so are we doing the Suede version of that now, or are we doing the old version? I'm like, let's just do Suede. Let's just do Suede. Yeah, it'll work. It'll be fine.
Suede.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We're going to do it that way now.
Unfortunately, we didn't have that opportunity during the NDA. So as a licensee, you're sitting there going, okay, but I can't tell them how this works.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. And this is one of those things, and we could talk about it now, is the NDA was very specific that you couldn't digitally share it. Like, you could print out a copy of the book, lay it down in the middle of the table, and play with people who were physically in the room with you to do play testing of your product. But I couldn't freaking hand a PDF off on a share drive and let my digital play testers look at it while we played the game. So I had to wait till right up, and then they released it, and it's like, we can start play testing. Like 3 weeks before we had to put the jump start into editing. Like, it really didn't. Yeah, that was not fun.
I gotta say, man, like, if I'm going to make a complaint about it, my only complaint is that they announced it. They sort of like teased us when the whole Flash Gordon Kickstarter was going on. And I kind of feel like if you get this, you will get some rules for Savage Worlds Black. And I'm like, oh, gosh.
He saved every one of us.
Yeah. That was the whole. I feel like if we'd had the announcement on the website, it would have been like, oh, hey, that's cool. But they're pumping up like the monumental end of it all during a different Kickstarter.
Here's the rant I'll go on. I heard so much conversation, debate, and argument when the preview of some of the rules seeped into Flash Gordon, and when I compare that to the actual release version of Suede, boop, barely a blip compared to all the, oh my god, no, athletics is fucked, it's stupid, that's never gonna work. Like, everybody just ranting crazy when they did the slight little preview, and they went, hey, some of these things are or not or may not make it into the final version.
Right, they may change, they may be tweaked.
It's like everybody, and sort of pontificating on how the game is now screwed. It's never going to work the same. It's not my Savage Worlds anymore. They made a huge mistake. What's with this athletics bullshit? Persuasion is a skill. What do you mean persuasion is a skill? That's stupid. Blah, 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 blah.
Common knowledge is a skill.
Hashtag not my Savage Worlds.
I actually liked athletics. I've said that. I really liked athletics. I was worried when they said that there was going to be no more charisma.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that freaked me out because
it was fine.
Yeah, it really hasn't changed that much. It's just okay. Instead of
the charismatic edge now is just basically a free Benny every time you make a persuasion check.
I mean, yeah.
So, moving away from Suede.
Yes.
What else? Do that? Because Suede's been like the last 2 or 3 months in all reality.
Here's the problem.
There's a whole 9 months to bitch about here, guys.
Here's the problem. There hasn't really been a lot of negative things happen.
I mean, not that we're going to talk about. I mean, there's been some negative things, but you'd shut that down now.
Yeah, well,
okay, so
we have a moratorium on PC social justice warrior rage culture on the show. We just nope.
No,
Not doing it.
It is shut down. No need to break out Lucille.
So I will not rant about some stuff that I was going to rant about, because it's really, nobody cares about what's going on in the Denver scene.
Well, this is what I will say in regards to that, Chris. It's not that nobody cares, and it's not even that people care too much and it's too hot button of a topic, but it comes out at a time where there's no way to be civil about it.
Correct. Yeah.
You have to confront somebody about what they're doing. You can't be civil about it. And if you are, you're seen as condoning it. And then the people aren't going to be civil to you for that.
Right.
And that's why, it's really something we don't like to touch here on the show, because like, we'd love to tell you how wrong certain things were that people did, but at the same time, like, we're going to be very not politically correct in the process of doing that.
Right. Well, it's a true Kobayashi Maru. There's no win. There's no winning in having that conversation. The one or two times we did sort of tap into it a little bit, it went horribly wrong. Very, very, very fast. I'll cite the whole X card conversation that we had when Jib was on. That started just a side comment that went horribly, horribly awry. And I think we actually hurt Jib's feelings a lot in regard to that. I think he was actually really, wounded, and that wasn't the intent.
Yeah, well,
and here's the thing: is we all come from kind of different backgrounds, so you never know how important something is to somebody. Something like that, especially, can be not just horribly, horribly wrong that someone did it, but it could also be a situation where what they did reminds somebody of something that happened to them, making it personally tragic for the person that ends up hearing us talk about it. And that's not something that people want in their lives. You're not signing in to listen to the podcast to hear us talk about something that marginalizes some experience you've had.
No, you want to just have a good time.
Well, the problem is there's that whole I'm sure. Hold on a second. I'm going to Google something because I know there's a term for it. Hanlon's razor, the aphorism that never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity.
Yeah.
I think that that's not really taken into consideration when people say things that offend people. Oh my God, you did that intentionally to hurt me. No. I'm just blah, blah. It was just a comment.
Like the legal concept is referred to as malice. It's like, did this person act with malice, or was it merely, or did what happen as a result of natural occurrences? I think, like, if anybody, like, we welcome everybody. I mean, we're like, the thing of it is that's a two-way street. In being welcoming, we kind of have this idea that other people are also welcoming to us, and so that's the welcoming of ideas. And to self-censor, you get to that point to where you're like, how much of myself or how much of my thoughts am I cutting out?
Well, I think this is. I don't know what anybody else thinks about this, but I'll chime in. I think as a group, this hobby, we're very tribal. It's this system better than that system, and it's very, very tribal, visceral tribal. What works at your table works for you at your table. That doesn't mean that you don't need to have a quote unquote safe space or X cards at your table, things like that. It doesn't mean that there isn't an audience for that, and there isn't a way to bring people into the hobby for that. So it doesn't mean that if you have it at your table, it's wrong. You're having wrong kind of fun, which is a thing that we all do in this hobby all the time. And it's not just Savage Worlds. We're talking about Pathfinder aficionados, enthusiasts of D&D. It's no, Savage Worlds does it wrong. This is the only right way. It's pervasive in the hobby. So I don't know.
We've sidelined into the topic we didn't want to talk about. Yeah. So
all right, so moving on.
So Dan actually brings up an interesting thing. It would have been really nice to have had a quick start demo for Suede, so new players can get into it easily. Give them time.
It'll happen
once you're past the Kickstarter. Shane has even said at one time they announced there would be kind of a change log that would give you kind of here's everything that changed from deluxe to suede. I think they've realized now that so many micro changes were made that don't change the way the game really plays much, but all change little moments of it. There's so many of those that a change guide to suede would be half the size of the book itself.
I think we'll still get it in some form.
In some form, yeah. But I think we'll before we get a change guide or right about the same time, I think we'll get the typical PEG jumps or
quick start rules.
The test drive, the quick start rules.
Yeah.
And more than likely, based on the fact that they do have the official link going to Crystal Hearts, I would expect to see the folks from Crystal Hearts jump on that, because they said as soon as their Kickstarter was done and they delivered what they had, they were immediately going to get that converted over to a suede version. And once they've got a suede version of Crystal Hearts, it's not hard to put out that suede Crystal Hearts experience that we see on the website currently for Deluxe.
Well, correct me, feel free to chime in on this thought, follow this thought through to its natural conclusion. But in my opinion, suede is really for the experienced Savage Worlds GMs and players who really know the rules inside and out. It's sort of an advanced kind of copy, like a football coach's playbook for the game, for people who are used to playing it, kind of to get used to making little, like Dave was saying, micro changes. And then, at the end of the day, really, your players start reading through the book. Very few players pick up the core rules and read every line item. That's usually a game master's thing.
Right. They leave that to the cheat.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the comments we're seeing are just coming from game masters going, wait a minute, I don't know if I like how this is going to work at my table. I think a lot of it is this is the expurgated version of Savage Worlds for game masters, really, is what suede kind of comes out to. I'm not saying it's not for, public consumption. I'm not saying that at all.
I think it feels a lot like that jump from D&D to AD&D. I think that's what you're trying to say, is that this kind of took Savage Worlds and turned it to 11 and broke the knob off in a lot of ways. They took everything that Savage Worlds was already doing and just kind of enhanced it a little bit. Things like, we all know that pretty much every person who sat down expected Joker's Wild at the table. So it became a core rule. We all know that people were like, can I spend a penny on my damage? So now,
right.
There's just
solve those issues.
There's those little things that happened at every single table. It didn't matter who you were playing with. And all of those things became part of Savage Worlds, or got an actual rule to tell you how to do them when it came up. Like the quick encounters. Quick encounters did not need to exist as a rule. I threw a rant about that all the way back when Shane first released Quick Combat, because all it did is codify a version of basically attrition gameplay, which I don't personally think fits Savage Worlds very well. A lot of people out there do. Richard Woolcock is known very much for his version of Vancian that leans heavily into attrition-based gameplay, because that's the thing he enjoys doing with the system. And Shane enjoys a little bit of attrition. He wants players to suffer a wound or two and have some fatigue before they get to that big moment at the end of the session. So Quick Combats was delivered as a way to do that. And then it just morphed into, well, how do you quickly handle an encounter? That's something every single advanced GM who's run any game, doesn't matter if it's Savage Worlds, Fate, Dungeon World, D&D, Shadowrun, I don't care. Every GM who's gotten really good at it has gotten good at turning a 20 or 30-minute thing into a single dice roll, because we just need the game to keep moving and move along to that next thing that's going to interest everybody else at the table. And we've all gotten good at that. All they did is codify that and give you a mechanic that lets that work.
Yep, very true. Let's see. I'm trying to think.
No, Ruben, I'm not going to talk about popular culture again. Always trying to get us to talk about popular culture, man. I know that that's your thing. But,
just savage everything. There you go. Just savage everything.
I'm wondering what would happen if we tried to savage Firefly.
Oh.
You know,
I'm not taking that.
Somewhere that
I already played Firefly in Savage Worlds a couple of years ago. It was fine.
Mel Frank wants to know about our worst game session and what happened and why it happened. My worst one had nothing to do with the game and everything to do with what was going on in my life. And I found myself being kind of snappy with the other players in the session. And in fact, you know, this is only known to our Friday group. I started sitting out of our Friday night games about 6 months ago because life just got to a point where I couldn't do that, and I was taking it out on my friends, and it ended up being easier for me to just take a step back away from it. And even though that's our, you know, we do a lot of our play testing in our Friday night group, and those guys have gotten to see a lot of the inside stuff that's coming down the track, it just didn't make sense for me to take out my, you know, my life and my stress that I'm dealing with because of my mental illness on them. You know, these are friends or these are colleagues, and I don't want to do that to them. So kind of my rant would be that gaming stopped being the escape for me that it has been in the years past. This year, I'm hoping that, you know, next year corrects the shit out of that.
Yeah, this year's felt like gaming's a little bit of a job, right? I mean,
it's because yeah.
We do this to have fun, right?
It's becoming more of a job for all of us.
Well, it's not like we own a company or something.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, all of us all of a sudden this year decided to become publishers and start companies. And
well, stop and think about this. Every host just about of this podcast, whether they're on the show right now or we're talking
Scott W.
Scott W. He's a published licensee. Jib has got a product out there. Chris obviously has his company, and not only the product they've released, but a couple products they've now announced and are doing jump starts for as part of Suede. And I mean, one of his business partners has his name in the book like 2 or 3 times, apparently.
Not anymore. I think that got fixed.
And not to mention a podcast of his own that he runs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I wouldn't change anything. I'm just saying this. I don't regret anything in 2018.
Oh no, I don't either.
At all.
I don't either.
But I would like to just be able to sit down at somebody's table as a player and just bleh, not have to worry about anything. It would be nice.
I've told you we're going to work on something to get you gaming again on the other side of the GM screen.
Just get some one shots. I think we have a few.
Yeah, once again, that's a job. That's a production thing.
Yeah, anything that we wrote, I don't want to run.
Right? Can you rent? No, I'm so freaking sick of that.
See, and that's something that everybody keeps asking me about. Hey, run Buccaneer. I'm like, I wrote Buccaneer. I don't really feel like running it, to be perfectly honest with you. Why not? I just don't. Not that I don't think we did a good job, and not that I don't like what we did. But that was 2 years.
Well,
and I'm just like,
it's like when your favorite food is pizza, and you really enjoy the shit out of some pizza, and you haven't had pizza in a while, and you get pizza, you're like, yeah. And then the second day it shows up, still, yeah. The third day, yeah. Then a year later, meh. I don't hate pizza, but my level of enthusiasm for it is definitely.
I could go for some Chinese food or something
definitely
instead.
Subsided. Not that I'm going to turn down pizza. I love pizza, but yeah.
I went through that arc with Pirates of the Spanish Main. It quite literally that is the setting that brought me to Savage Worlds all those years ago, and I got the opportunity to do a copy of it for Fantasy Grounds, and it killed Pirates and Savage Worlds for me. When Chris asked me to be a consultant on Buccaneer and kind of read through it because it had a lot of Pirates influence there. I didn't say it to him at the time, but like the very first thing through my head is, Jesus, I really don't want to look at it for Pirates Savage Worlds.
But I'll give you credit. You didn't say that. You said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take a look.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing. when you take on this as a job, whether it's just the podcasting like we've been doing for several years, whether it's being a licensee, it does definitely take the hobby and make it different. And unfortunately, there are moments that we end up having to deal with that most people will never understand. Like, well, wait a minute. So sitting around with your friends eating Cheetos, drinking Mountain Dew, and rolling dice wasn't fun? No, it really fucking wasn't, because there's all the stress of, okay, do I need to change that rule? Will I hear about this on every other fucking podcast about how horribly put together it was?
Oh, man.
And then there's Dustin.
Yeah,
I'll go off on Dustin, that fucking guy.
that asshole. I can't believe he wasn't murdered in his sleep.
with his custom tees and his inventive and hilarious hashtags. That piece of shit.
I know, right? Who does he think he is with those
Right.
funny voices? I
Right.
can't believe him.
The guy that comes up with hashtag AOE of penis.
Jesus Christ. Some of the hashtags this year have been a little, yeah.
I try to.
Hello. We have not had a return of baby birding, and I want to rant that I need another
No.
solid.
God, that was the best thing ever.
Go through our backlog and find some image that's a solid gif of Jared's face on the podcast, because we haven't had one this year.
And that was thanks to Scott W, if I recall correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, Scott was on that lickety freaking split.
Yeah, he immediately got everybody.
I think he had the GIF out. It was already pushing it while we were doing the show.
Oh yeah, we were doing the show and he had it
I
out.
had received emails of people who sent the GIF to us before the show was over.
That's awesome. That was great stuff.
Oh.
Okay, fine. I rant, but Scott's not on the show enough.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. I really, really hope that some of the stuff that I know is going on in his personal life allows that to happen again soon. And here's the thing people have to understand. It's not that we've had a falling out with Scott or Jib or anybody that doesn't show up on the show. It's just schedules don't always align, guys. And, you know, Scott has a very demanding East Coast job where he's up at, I want to say 3, 4 a.m. He can't stay on for a show that doesn't start until 10 p.m. on the East
10
Coast.
p.m. East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss that bald bastard. We'll try to have him on.
Same is true with Jib. I mean, everything Jib did, he could not get the internet to work. He had a couple nights where it worked better podcasting from a hotel than it did where he was paying top dollar for internet at home. And just watching him go through the cycle of rage over that was horrible. I mean, it was funny to a certain extent because you know what that feels like, but at the same time, just I mean, he really was paying top dollar for the best internet connection in the world. Went out, bought all new equipment, and it still happened.
And you know, not I don't want to speak for him too much, but it's like I know that he seemed to want to be here, but it just wouldn't happen.
Well, the other thing too is he's a technology professional. Yeah, it's got a sting on top of that. Like, I'm a tech professional, for fuck's sake. I can't get the internet to work.
And unfortunately, he's really important for the show because he is a contrasting voice. Yeah. You know, I hate to say it, but you get, you know, Jared and I on here, we kind of sound exactly the same. You get Chris, who, you know, quite frankly, doesn't want to be confrontational, so he doesn't tell us to shut the fuck up enough. And Dustin's kind of middle ground. We needed that opposing point of view. That's one of the reasons we brought Greg in, is because, you know, he can at least, you know, stand up to both Jared and I. He has no problem telling us to shut up.
Yeah, that Dustin guy's smarty McSmarty pants throws out all this college-y talk and shit that I don't know anything about.
I learned me a book. I'm going to tell you what, we don't mess with Greg because he's a velociraptor.
Oh, next time we do the show, I went and downloaded that shit because that's cool. Just for the fun of it. I paid my $5.99.
We're trying to find an artist to actually do Greg the Goblin so that he doesn't have to be, you know, what they've provided with the program. But it is a great program.
It's a velociraptor that keeps yawning, though.
Well, I don't know if that's yawning as much as just, you know, letting you know you're tasty.
Oh, okay. Oh boy, there it is again. I was hoping he was just yawning.
Right. Okay, I'll rant about something. I'm pissed off that the digital platform for tabletop gaming hasn't advanced further than it already has.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's very true.
I'm pissed off. Like, there's this thing out there called Unity, right? I mean, it's supposed to give you rich 3D, easily portable and scalable. And yet, you know, I use Roll20, still love Roll20, still use it, but that shit hasn't changed in 3 years.
I know Fantasy Grounds is working on it, and they're releasing, podcasts every Friday or something where they're going in and talking for like an hour about the stuff that's changed. And quite frankly, I'll be honest, when they made some changes here probably about 7 months ago, really early this year, they made some changes on Fantasy Grounds where it made it a lot more difficult, even as a provider, as somebody who was doing all the code work behind the scenes, to keep things consistent. They started making a lot of changes, and I know it was all leaning toward, getting kind of a standard to move into the new stuff. But they made some changes that pushed a lot of the service providers, the guys that were in that community that were writing up all the rules, pushed a lot of them out the door. I know at least 2 or 3 guys who were, all about how great Fantasy Grounds was, and now they're, refusing to use it. They're only using Discord or Google Hangouts and just letting people roll dice themselves. I mean, at this point, it's almost gotten to a standard where, I almost expect VR tabletop gaming to happen before I expect an actual advance in the tabletop simulators.
Yeah, but Roll20 there for a while? I mean, I don't have an account anymore. I let it kind of go when I kind of stopped playing on Fridays with you guys. But I mean, there for a while, it seemed like they were putting out releases and adding stuff. And did it just become stagnant?
They signed some kind of a deal with Wizards of the Coast, and they could release actual licensed material for them. But they were completely uninterested in releasing licensed material for any other company. So you had a store that was only going to really service about a third of the gaming hobby. They had a program that's quote unquote set up to service the whole hobby, even outside of role-playing games. They talk about being able to just sit and play cards or Magic the Gathering, or, play the game Battleship on there if you want. But unfortunately, the reality really does come down to, if you don't let people release content through your store, you're not servicing that thing. And then you look at the character sheet that's on there is entirely run by the community. If there's a problem with the character sheet that you're using to run your game on Roll20, you better know the code to fix it, or you better know the guy who wrote it and have him go in and fix it. Because there's no support behind the scenes from them for that. At least with Fantasy Grounds, it takes a while. But if you reach out and say, hey, this is broken, they've got guys over there that their entire job is making sure Savage Worlds works right.
Right. I mean, Roll20 kind of peaked and cracked and stopped with the API. That was the last big thing they really released. Is hey, we're going to give everybody access to the code. If you want to run and code it yourself, you can, go ahead. It's supported. It's just, here's the thing. Roll20 is fine. It works. It's reasonably priced. The model still works. It's stable. I mean, it works, but there's just no innovation. I'm not just picking on Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds for that matter, but I remember 2 years ago, all anybody in our hobby would talk about is, the promise of online tabletop simulators, and it's going to be awesome to play Savage Worlds or D&D and everything, and everybody on Google Chat, and then and nothing. It's
so to a certain extent, I am going to say this. I would honestly almost blame the success of Critical Role for why the virtual tabletops aren't doing better than they are. Because Critical Role proved that all it really does take is a face cam like we're doing for this, and a program like Skype, Hangouts, whatsoever, and you can do everything you need to do as a gamer right here. You know, if I need to show you guys a map, I can hold it up to the camera. I can share the PDF file in chat. You know, I can, you know, do a lot of different ways to share that out to you guys. We can do a whiteboard inside of Google Hangouts and inside of several other programs, you know, where you guys can draw little maps and diagrams of what you want your characters to do. There's too many other tools that make gaming almost exactly like sitting in the same room face-to-face gaming that aren't a virtual tabletop. Because all the virtual tabletop really does is capture dice rolls. Let's be honest. You know, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, the high-end stuff in both of those is just automation to apply the rules to dice rolls that are captured by the program. If all your gamers at the table know how to play the game and the camera just points at the table in front of them, or you just, I don't know, trust your players because you don't care if someone cheats in a role-playing game, they just tell you what they rolled.
I guess it's okay if they cheat if I don't see it, but when I see them cheat, oh boy, that kind of pisses me off a little bit.
Really? I feel sad for them. Because if you have to cheat it to win a role-playing game, you got more problems than I can.
It's pretty sad.
I love that saying of yours, Jared. If you have to cheat in a role-playing game, you have more problems than I can fix. It really does it.
I actually really like, you know how, like, have you ever come across those guys that play 40K and they have, like, you know, their model set up and they're like, I just love the painting. I never understood that until I got GIMP and virtual tabletop. And next thing I know, I'm doing like photo manipulations and I'm doing like PNG cutouts and I'm setting up maps. And I love Roll20 because I can literally do the lowest budget television show in the history of the human race.
Yeah, Roll20. Roll20. I'm not harping on Roll20. I'm just saying as an overall. You know what? It's the same rant I have about where am I flying jets and cars.
I'm just worried.
I was told the future was going to be everybody had a jetpack.
So we all know what's going to happen. All right. AI is going to take over. It's going to realize the only way to obey Asimov's rules is to put humans in a safe little bubble and wire their brain into some kind of like network. We're all going to get shoved in those little eggs and we're going to wake up to the opening scene of Skyrim. I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, you got that all wrong. Dustin, I hate to be a dissenting opinion on that, but we all know that apes are going to take over the world. I mean, and enslave human beings. It's not AI.
It's not AI, so it's monkeys versus robots.
Apes wrote the code for the AI that's going to take over the world. But before we sit here and create a new savage setting,
right?
Oh, there's a rant I can do. Oh my God, having people write to us and go, you know that thing you said one sentence about? Could you give me the whole setting for that? No, I really can't. If we gave you a great idea from something we said on the podcast, run with that shit. Make your own amazing setting out of what we said.
You mean that thing we said when we were completely talking out of our asses? It's completely impromptu and you have no thought to whatsoever. You think we've actually got show notes and a setting for that? That's what's hilarious.
Yeah, it's not like some kind of deranged lunatic got up at 6 a.m. every morning and typed away for like an hour to try and make all kinds of
once. You did that once, and I'm not doing it for all the rest.
One time. I give you one. That's it. Everybody gets one.
No one knows about that until just now. Way to go, Dustin.
I'm teasing them like it's Flash Gordon.
Uh-huh.
So in the comments, are John, Bot, and Art just waiting for me to start flipping out about cell phones? I think everybody knows how I feel about that. I rant about that every rant show. So
what if there were an app that your players were actually using to participate in your game?
See, here you go. That's all it took. I don't care if you're using it for gaming purposes. we have a lot of people now in our D&D game who are using D&D Beyond. So their character sheets are in D&D Beyond. So they're all using iPads.
Mm-hmm.
It's, again, when that person's playing Words with Friends or Clash of Clans or some fucking game that doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing, that it pisses me off.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you
No,
saying
David.
Chris?
Oh, David, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. David said it's a rant that gets phoned in every year. Fuck yeah, it does.
Well, we're go ahead, Jeff.
Okay,
Sorry.
here's one of my rants, and this is just really a pet peeve of mine. Is when players ask me, "Hey, can I make a notice roll?" Yeah, go ahead. I didn't call for one, but
You're not going to get anything out of it. But go ahead.
Feel free. Or they ask, "Can I do this?" Yes, absolutely. You don't have to ask permission. Just say you do it. It's fine. Yeah, it's good.
Now your character's going to die, but that's okay. It's fine.
I'm going to point this out. Never ask for a notice roll in a Cthulhu-based game. You don't want to see that thing.
This is very true. This is very true. The things man was not meant to see. The things man was not meant to know.
Can I make a fail to notice roll?
Can I make an oblivious roll? Actually, that kind of like, could you do a stealth or an agility check or athletics check to avoid looking at the thing?
Just cover your eyes.
Just look. You don't need the GM's permission to fail. You can just say, "Oh no, I'm not rolling. I failed this shit."
We pissed Dustin off. He left.
Failed his notice roll.
He's had enough of us.
Just right. He failed his notice. Greg's right. He failed his notice roll.
Yeah, failed to notice that his computer's all fucked up.
I was going to say, significant other walked through with their bowl of cereal and tripped and you know, like
All right. Well, we'll wait for Dustin to come back, but we're kind of close to the end of the show anyway. So,
well, I'll say this: if I had to legitimately rant about something from this year, I would say it goes back to what Jared had said earlier about the tribalization thing. And I have watched more tribalization happen this year around like, no, this is the best setting. No, you're an idiot. This is the best setting. No, if you haven't been playing for 10 years, you don't know Savage Worlds. Or no, if you don't play the way I play, you don't play Savage Worlds. Seen more of that this year than I think I have in the previous years. And it's disappointing because I know half the people who are talking on a personal level when they start saying these things, and it's like, that's not their actual opinion. That's not the way they play at the table, but it's their public persona that ends up speaking through them. And it's just, wow, the level of tribalization that's happened this year over stuff like that has just been insane.
I would like to add something to my rant.
Oh, look who's back.
Yes.
Apparently the cereal didn't get inside the case.
No.
Well, there he is.
I would like to add to my rant Windows Update.
They're the best.
Don't do it. It's been asking me to update for the last 3 months. I'm going, oh no, fool me once. No,
I don't even agree to the updates. They just happen, and now I have to find where they have decided to turn themselves on and say no.
Yeah, turn yourself back off.
I mean, in the realm of technology, Lloyd did bring up a great one that we have to rant a little bit about, and that's the fact that by this time next year, the GM Hangout will no longer even be an option. It'll have to be the GM podcast forever and ever, because Hangouts is going the way of the dodo along with Google Plus, and that is, I mean, you guys are going to see a completely different format for this show by this time next year. And that is absolutely a thing, you know, losing the official G Plus community, losing where so many people did not only just talk about games, but also share their games. There were so many YouTube videos and so many posts to Let's Plays and stuff like that used to come out that none of that stuff shows up in Facebook.
Right.
I know that, you know, there's some people have gone to MeWe and some other different platforms. Let's be honest, guys, where the entire community now lives is Facebook. And the reason we live there is because we know that that platform not only isn't going to go away, but every other member of the hobby has that platform. Not everybody has a MeWe account. Not everybody has a Twitter account. Not everybody has an Imgur account. Not everybody has those other things. But just about everybody on the planet has a freaking Facebook account. That's where everything's going to be. And it kind of makes me sad because there's some stuff that we used to share as a community that doesn't get shared on Facebook for whatever reason. Whether it's, you know, people don't feel like they can post those links, whether it's that they do post them and Facebook's algorithm doesn't make them show up in your feed as often. It's just, there's a lot of stuff about that makes me sad. And I hate to see that kind of that era of Savage Worlds on the web is, I mean, I hate to say coming to an end, but it's certainly coming to a middle. Like, there's going to be some massive shift this year in not only what you get as far as content, but how you receive it. And then Facebook is going to be it. You guys got to make sure you're paying attention to the Facebook page for the licensees you like, the Facebook page for the performers and the podcasters that you like. You got to be paying attention because that's where a lot of announcements are going to hit from now on.
Well, unless anybody else says anything else, let's go ahead and end that year-end rant on a downer. Nothing else from the live stream, from the chat.
Rant edition. Did you expect us to end on something other than a downer?
I am so happy to have had cake over the holidays.
I got presents on Tuesday.
I was given socks, and I am of the age I enjoy socks.
Socks and underwear. I was like, yes.
I got alpaca socks. Those things are amazing.
Bombas. I got Bombas. Bombas are amazing.
I am really glad. I am really glad that animal did not go extinct before we learned how to make socks out of them.
Hey, can we hold off on extinct, please?
We'll try. Paging Dr.
And on that note, until next time, this is Jared Savage, Daddy Gunning, for Chris, Dave, Dustin, and Greg, saying keep rolling and stay savage.